So, 1972, it was a year where prog got ambitious, glam got theatrical, and somewhere in Germany, musicians were yodeling at their synthesizers. Well, welcome to part 2 of this wonderful year, where we catch the albums you demanded after my first video. Strap in, it's going to be a weird, wonderful, and occasionally end-of-the-world epic. Now, this time, I begin with the third album released by Renaissance called Prog, and this introduced to the world Annie Haslam's wonderful 5-octave voice. Now, if you listen to the title track, you will feel swept along by mellotron clouds. Now, whilst Kiev alternates between orchestral grandeur and delicate folk. Now, the closing track, Raja Khan, features the wonderful Francis Monkman from Curved Air playing this synthesizer solo on this one. Fun fact from this recording, neighbours allegedly complained Annie hit notes so high that they could hear her through the walls. Well, at least there were no reports of crystal shattering that we know of. Next is David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust, which gave us that androgynous and bisexual alien rock star that, up to this point, we didn't know we needed. Starman whispered secrets from the cosmos, whilst Suffragette City stomped like a glam parade. And don't even get me started on Rock and Roll Suicide, which was a finale that had the audiences crying, cheering, or occasionally fainting. Ziggy Stardust is that conglomerate of pop, glam pop, sci-fi pop, prog, but all theatrical genius that really changed so many of our lives. And one of the most glaring omissions from that first video I made was the album August by Wishbone Ash. Yes, that one. Now, you guys were hard on me for this one, and quite rightly so. This album practically invented heroic prog. That twin guitar duel in The King Will Come still gives me shivers, whilst Throw Down the Sword is considered one of their most resonant and powerful tracks. Now, fun fact here, John Tout from Renaissance played organ on this particular one. Recorded in 3 weeks, the album sounds cinematic, swords clashing and all, yet meticulous. Now, if you need epic battles, then this is your soundtrack. Now, the Curved Air album, Phantasmagoria, is pure theatrical prog. AllMusic described it as the culmination of all that Curved Air promised over the course of its predecessors, the band's finest and grandest hour by far. Now, the title track dances through our time signatures, whilst Marie Antoinette is like a mini rock opera. The whole of the second side is written by Francis Monkman and is regarded as a sonic innovation and triumph for Monkman. Live shows often included costumes, lights and stage duels. You didn't attend a concert, you really attended a spectacle. Time to yodel again, fans, as Focus released their Focus 3 album. Round Goes the Gossip features some lines from the Greek poet Virgil's Aeneid, as well as more actual yodeling, alongside some jazzy bass and complex rhythms. Answers, questions, questions, answers. This one sprawls through 14 minutes really of prog brilliance. Tish Van Lee has practiced yodeling for weeks, proving that if prog fails, Alpine folk festivals await. Ben Davis from AllMusic said, "To be frank, this LP has it all. Diverse songs, astounding musicianship, and one of the finest singles ever released. Focus 3 should unquestionably be ranked alongside the greats of rock's greatest." Now hold on to your Lederhausen and synth modules, as it's time for a German prog trifecta, where krautrock experiments collide with yodeling, organs and an occasional can of opera. Now, before they became robotic icons, Kraftwerk was sonic explorers, and the album Kraftwerk 2 was a raw and experimental album, steeped in musique concrete and avant-garde ambience, crafted by Ralph Hütter and Florian Schneider. Hütter recalled, "Nobody really wanted to play with us. No drummer wanted to work with those electronic gadgets." The opener, Kling Klang, resembles really a washing machine with attitude, using a preset organ beatbox and metallic percussion, really that hints at their future rhythmic style. Instead of synthesizers, the album relied on electric guitar, bass, flute and violin, shaped by analog tape techniques. Tracks like Strum and Harmonica highlighted this technique with tape echo, reverse playback and looping, all these creating this surreal textured soundscape that really foreshadows their later electronic precision. Now, Nectar's second album, A Tab on the Ocean, was the psychedelic odyssey full of spacey atmospherics. Side 1 is the title track, lasting 17 minutes with shifting moods, layered instrumentation, and really an overarching feeling of aquatics. The closing track, King of Twilight, combines quite a hypnotic bass with synth swirls into something really spacey and synthetic, and this was actually covered by Iron Maiden on the B-side of their 1984 single, Aces High. Now, although British, recording in Germany gave their spacey sound quite a disciplined twist. Can rather ingeniously titled their third album, Erj Bamiasi, which means Aegean opera in Turkish, and is a hypnotic funk meets krautrock mix of styles. It opens with Pinch, a sprawling improvisational jam with jagged rhythms and abstract vocalizations. The drumming is relentless and hypnotic, anchoring the chaos whilst Damo Suzuki's vocals are cryptic and fragmented. The track Vitamin C grooves, whilst Spoon improvises. One More Night is built around a funky, repetitive groove, and I'm So Green is bouncy and upbeat. Can's jam sessions reportedly lasted anything up to 12 hours, making their music both tight but delightfully chaotic. Now, the Aphrodite's Child album 666 is a double album and was inspired by the Book of Revelation, no less. The album's central theme imagines a surreal circus performing the apocalypse, while the real one unfolds outside, merging fantasy with prophecy. Though initially met with confusion and resistance, I'm not surprised, both by the band and their label, it later gained cult status and is now hailed really as a masterpiece of avant-garde prog. The Four Horsemen track rides in psychedelic style, and Babylon delivers like an end-of-the-world theatre. Lead singer at the time, Denis Roussos, reportedly wore a cape during recording, because why not make the apocalypse fashionable? Why not indeed? Now, a favourite of mine, Family's Bandstand, is an eclectic prog really at its finest, whilst marking a shift towards a more mainstream and structured sound from the band, with tighter songwriting and conventional verse-chorus formats. The album opens with Burlesque, a beautiful, punchy rocker, and also includes introspective tracks like Coronation and tender ballads such as My Friend the Sun. It's the only Family album without an instrumental track on it, and features contributions from soul singer Linda Lewis and string arranger Del Newman. On this one, bassist John Wetton played really quite a reduced role before he departed to join King Crimson, making this his final appearance with the band. Though it didn't chart highly in the US, Bandstand helped Family build really quite a cult following and remains a fan favourite for its blend of grit, soul and sophistication. Their live shows, well, interestingly enough, it's reported that sometimes their songs literally changed mid-performance. Audiences were exhilarating or became utterly baffled. Both reactions counted as a success for the band. Now, Obscure by Clouds is a charming prelude to many of Pink Floyd's later epics. This was created as a soundtrack for Barbara Schroeder's film La Vallée, and marks a transitional moment between Pink Floyd's psychedelic roots and their emerging progressive rock style. It was recorded quickly in France whilst the band was developing The Dark Side of the Moon, to put it into a time context, and it features a mix of bluesy rock, atmospheric instrumentals and introspective lyrics. Some of the tracks, perhaps like Free Fall or the acoustic beauty What's the Deal and Child at End, hint at themes of mortality and lost youth that would dominate their later albums. Though this album was largely overlooked initially and considered a stopgap release, it's since gained appreciation for its cohesion and emotional depth. Today it's really seen as a pivotal bridge in the band's evolution, laying the groundwork for their 1970s masterpieces. The Strawbs' Grave New World was a loosely conceptual album that traced the arc of man's life, from the spiritual awakening to mortality, beginning with the track Benedictus and ending with Journey's End. Now, it marked a stylistic shift from the band's folk roots towards a more symphonic and progressive rock sound, and there were some really lush arrangements featuring mellotron, organ, sitar and layered harmonies. This was the first album after Rick Wakeman's departure, with Blue Weaver stepping in as keyboardist. But it also led to founding member Tony Hooper deciding to leave due to discomfort with the band's new direction. Standout tracks like New World, Heavy Disguise and Queen of Dreams really showcased what Dave Cousins' poetic lyrics were all about, which blended social commentary with spiritual themes. It is widely regarded as one of the Strawbs' finest works, and it reached number 11 on the UK albums chart, and remains a fan favourite for its emotional depth and musical ambitions. We look at Matching Mole next, which was Robert Wyatt's first project after parting ways with Soft Machine, and even the name carried his trademark sense of humour. It's a pun on the French translation of his old band, Machine Mole, Soft Machine. Now, this debut album shows really Wyatt exploring new territory where tender songwriting collided with progressive rock, jazz fusion and freeform improvisation. The opening track on this one, Oh Caroline, is disarmingly direct, a piano-led ballad full of longing that revealed a deeply personal side of Wyatt many really hadn't heard before. But from there, the album takes sharp turns into experimental terrain with pieces like Instant Pussy and Beer as a Reindeer, where really off-kilter rhythms, playful wordplay and bursts of instrumental chaos gave it really an unpredictable and almost mischievous spirit. With guitarist Phil Miller, keyboardist Dave Sinclair and bassist Bill McCormick on board, Wyatt had really surrounded himself with sympathetic musicians who could keep up with both his jazz-tinged flights of fantasy and his moments of emotional clarity. The result is a record that felt quirky, heartfelt and chaotic in equal measure. An eccentric but highly original statement that set Wyatt on a very personal creative path. So there you have it, 1972's Overspill. I omitted from that first video a year of yodels, aliens, medieval guitar battles and really end-of-the-world theatrics. Now, whether you're a prog purist or just here for the cape-wearing apocalypse, these albums remind us that music in 1972, it was fearless, it was whimsical and endlessly surprising. Now, hopefully this time I've captured all the big hitters, but if I've not, please let me know in the comments once again. Now, check the description to this video, please, for more information on these albums, purchasing links and the like, and share this video with your like-minded friends if this is something you feel they would enjoy. There's a playlist created with all the years I've done so far, and the video on screen now is that first one I did for 1972. Watch that one next, and I'll see you over there.